We are doing a deep dive today into a framework that really promises to solve one of the big intellectual problems of our time.
The crisis of meaning.
Exactly, the crisis of meaning. We're looking at Dr. Pramod Ambadasrao Pawar's trans deconstruction, and the goal here is to figure out how this theory can fix a situation where, interpretations just expand endlessly but rarely converge.
Well, and what's so fascinating is that this theory was, it was really engineered to respond to the last century of thought. First, you had structuralism, right?
Which sort of froze meaning, put it in a box.
A very rigid box.
Yeah.
And then deconstruction came along and just, well, it dissolved everything into this unending fluidity. It opened the text up, which was great, but it never really told us how to close it again.
And that's where trans deconstruction, or TDC, comes in.
Exactly. It aims to be that next step.
Mm-hmm.
To restore a kind of balance by saying all these scattered meanings, they actually come from a single unified source, a monistic core.
Okay, that sounds incredibly ambitious.
Yeah.
I mean, if we've spent decades showing that texts are open to almost infinite readings, how does TDC suddenly find a fundamental center without, just being rigid in a new way?
That is the million-dollar question. And the answer is in its dynamic structure, which Pawar calls the pendulum model.
Pendulum, okay.
So think about it. Interpretation has to swing outward into multiplicity. That's the freedom we gained. But this monistic center, it acts like a kind of philosophical gravity.
So it always gets pulled back.
It's always drawn back inward, yeah.
Right.
It converges on that core. So multiplicity is real, it happens, but it's temporary. The return to that monism is inevitable. It allows for all that divergence without everything just flying apart forever.
So if convergence is the end game, how does a reader actually get there? How do you move from seeing all the possibilities to realizing that single core? That sounds like it needs a new way of reading.
It does, absolutely.
Yeah.
And TDC outlines three, let's call them levels of engagement. First, there's surface consciousness.
The basics. What happens in the story?
The plot, the mechanics, yes. Then you have interpretive consciousness. That's the analytical part, where you're digging into themes and context and all those conflicting ideas.
Okay.
But the final stage is superconsciousness.
Yeah.
And this is the leap. It's where you move past just analyzing and have this intuitive realization of the text's unity. Everything clicks into place. It's the highest form of reading in this system.
That intuitive leap, though, it needs some kind of formal proof, right? A mechanism that shows unity is the default state.
Yeah, and it has one. It's formalized in what's called the Pramod effect, which is expressed in a formula.
Yeah.
1101.
Okay, let's break that down.
So the first part, 110, is about dissolving binaries. Think about something like presence versus absence.
Mm-hmm.
TDC says you deconstruct that opposition until it dissolves into a state of absolute stillness, which is the zero.
They cancel each other out.
In a way, yes. They return to a neutral state. Then the second part, 01, equates that stillness, that zero, with fundamental unity, the one of monism. It's a way of proving, mathematically, that all opposition just returns to oneness when you break it down.
Wow. So this completely reframes those old dualities. Absence isn't the opposite of presence, it's, what's the phrase? The shadow of presence, awaiting realization.
Exactly. And it also reunites the author and the reader. They're not separate anymore. They become this continuum connected through the text shared center.
And if you take that to its logical conclusion.
The theory posits that the entire universe works like a text.
Yeah.
That it's all governed by these same laws, and the final convergence point, the final signified, is the absolute, the timeless, unfragmented source of everything.
So bringing this back to right now, we live in the digital age with just this overload of information, of conflicting takes on everything, a huge plurality.
A mountain of it.
So TDC is offering a structured way to, reconcile conflicting interpretations, to find the coherence in all that digital noise.
That's the core insight.
Yeah.
It suggests that truth isn't actually fragmented, it's fundamentally one,
Mm.
which is, a pretty radical breakthrough for today. And this leaves us with a really important question.
Which is?
Trans deconstruction is suggesting that reading anything, a poem, the news, the cosmos itself, is really an act of finding the singularity behind all that diversity. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you ready to move past just analysis and commit to that path of unified realization?